intent you go to that sponsor's website just doesn't work in the mobile space. A lot of times they don't have very good mobile websites to begin with, and a lot of times it's just clunkier than you want it to be. So give me some instant gratification of content I might see right away. And then I think sort of the coolest treatments, frankly, is that full video ads that we will run in Gamecast. Gamecast for us is a scoring application and a live results application you click on the mobile phone on the website, that at any given time you get instant sort of picture of the game. You can see, you know, leading scores and scoring and the score of the game, and then running live clock that comes right from the arenas, and any depth of information to shot charts to you know, hit charts and spray charts for baseball, etc. But there's a lot of downtime in these applications. So you may be in a baseball game in our baseball game webcast, I'm sorry, Gamecast, and if you're watching it, what happens between the first and second inning? Or the bottom of the inning? Teams come off the field, there's a 2 or 3 minute break there when nothing's happening, there's no new data, and so our ad team went out and sold video ads for that spot. You can stop them if they're irritating and annoying to you, but a lot of times we find people will have the application open, inning changes, they'll watch a video. All right, I'll watch the video. Oh, now it's bottom of the inning, the Yankees are back to bat, and you know, I could go on and watching the game. We've done that in our football Gamecast, we've done it in our basketball Gamecast, and our baseball Gamecast. Again, the idea of serving video in a space that people are willing to consume video is pretty powerful. All right, I ran through that and hoped that there would be a question or two, whether it's related to our mobile products, to our video site, what we're doing on ESPN.com in general. The floor is yours. Yes? ESPNW is a new initiative that we're working on. It's really driven towards the W, in this case, standing for women and women's sports. It's an opportunity for us to really tap into what we think is a marketplace we serve fairly well in terms of certain events. I mean, we covered the every game of the women's NCAA tournament, including the championship game over the last month has been on our air. We think we do a pretty decent job of covering women's sports. We have the WNBA on our air. We have a lot of college swimming and volleyball and other events on ESPNU, our college network. But we really felt like we need to broaden our audience, because the truth of it is we're still, ESPN.com particularly, still is about 88% of our users are male. Now, in some sense, frankly, that's not bad for the ad environment. They're 18 to 34 male. That's pretty much the sweet spot for a lot of the advertisers, the top 50 sports advertisers we want to get to. But we also want to make sure that we're, not only from an advertising point of view, but from a service to fans point of view, generating more content. So ESPNW is an effort headed by a woman named Laura Gentile, who's a terrific supervisor for us, who is putting together content initiatives that will go across all of our platforms that are more geared towards celebrating women's sports, but also trying to generate an audience and making the audience, the fans of women's sports, or maybe casual fans of women's sports, more interested. So, in process as we speak, I hope to see some, real results here in the next few months. Anybody else? Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The local sites.
Yes.
Chicago, ESPN, I guess New York eventually too. I noticed that Chicago is doing a little bit of high school video. I'm assuming you're eventually going to do an ESPN Atlanta. Let's just say hypothetically.
Say hypothetically.
Hypothetically, you might be thinking of this. I know y'all done a lot more with high school sports, especially over this past year.
Yeah.
Of course, that's our bread and butter.
Sure.
It's a small newspaper. And being not too far from Atlanta, obviously, I'm shaking my boots hoping y'all aren't going to start doing that. Is high school sports that next frontier for y'all? Are y'all going to try to move into that?
No, it's a great question, and I'll just be honest with you. Obviously, we're looking at all of that. We're looking at the entire space. My personal point of view is this. I'm not sure, even as we get to the local front, that high school sports is really going to move the needle for us. Because we have the ability to serve content at a national level across the major sports, and those get sliced very nicely into the locals. And again, there's the inverse funnel, right? Everything that is done in ESPN Chicago or ESPNDallas.com about the Rangers or the Mavericks or the Cowboys, I can use on ESPN.com. There's a little less of an audience for that at a very localized level from a high school sports perspective. we did launch a product, and relaunched a few months ago, called ESPN Rise, which is targeted to high school athletes. It's really not about covering high school sports. It's targeted to high school athletes. It's not going to the friends and families and adults and parents and grandparents in a community that want to follow a team religiously year after year because they've had generations of family members who've played sports in that community. It's really about the athletes themselves and what they're interested in and how they want to perceive the world and what sports mean to them. And sometimes sports to high school athletes isn't about high school sports. It may be about college sports or pro sports, or it may be about pop culture and movies and video games. So we're in that space. I think Rise is a great product for us. We are taking some opportunities in some of the local sites to see what the effort is. But look, I started my career too long ago, taking bowling scores in high school agate on Friday nights. And God forbid you'd get the quadrangular tennis meet, the quadrangular track meet, in which Bridget Grippentrog and Eleanor Grippentrog, names are stuck in my brain forever, and God forbid you mix them up because one was a shot putter and one was a discus thrower, and you can't get them wrong. There's a lot of effort that goes into that. I'm not saying we're opposed to effort, but we're trying to sort of strategically look, where do we think we'll get the biggest opportunity? I actually think that's, again, as a former newspaper editor, writer, reporter, and someone who has tons of friends and colleagues in the industry, I actually think it's a great space for newspapers. I think it's more than that, I think it's a great space for newspapers online. When I was in Milwaukee, we launched and you guys probably already have this now, so I'm sorry if this sounds really dated, but we launched, for then, was a fairly innovative high school scoring system where we converted the entire newsroom on the print side. Instead of taking scores into the production system, computer system, we built a web-based application that was completely database driven, so that all of the agate takers would take the scores into a web application, which we then retrofitted to convert back into the newspaper system so that it could still be printed out as in the daily paper, but simultaneously, real-time, updated the database on the website for jsonline.com, the news site there. And it was terrific. And we saw a huge uptick in usage. It also allows you to do things like scoring leaders and season-long scoring leaders and rushing leaders and touchdown leaders, which sometimes you may not have the space to do in the print side, but you absolutely have endless opportunity to do so on the digital side. So I think it's a great space. I honestly don't know that, I can't say definitively that we're not going to pursue it more, but right now I think there's a lot of higher priorities for us in the local sides. Some more thoughts? Yeah, please.
Obviously, y'all are rolling out a lot of apps and stuff like that. Are y'all outsourcing that, or is that all in-house? How many programs y'all have helping these things out?
It's a great question. Overall, let me just take a macro level. Overall, ESPN.com, the digital space for us, editorially, we've got about 200 people between editors and writers and reporters. It's actually one of the larger online-only newsrooms. Because if you think about it, we don't have, when I was at the Journal-Sentinel, 75% of the content that ran on our newspaper website was sourced from the newspaper. It was generated and created by people who were doing it for the paper. We took that content and repurposed it and enhanced it, and then did 25% of our own original content to try to make a great product. I don't have that, I guess, luxury, if you want to say it one way, or the opportunity to do that at ESPN.com.